Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Mr. Santos. And I do agree with my friend from Pennsylvania. None of us are interested in how many toilets he has in his home. Mr. Santos, your directive comes from the Constitution of the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So, like the Postal Service, it's a mandated activity by the Constitution of the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the language in the Constitution says, does it not, that the census is to count every person in the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct.
It doesn't say resident. It says person.
The Census Act includes...
No, the Constitution.
Okay.
Does
Fair
not
enough.
say resident. It says person. Is
All
that correct?
persons. Correct.
It doesn't say American citizen. Is that correct?
Correct.
Why do you think the founders, in writing the Constitution, use that language? Why wouldn't they just say count every citizen?
I am not a historian, Congressman, so I would leave that to others.
Well, you want to speculate with me? I mean, wouldn't we want to know who's living in the United States, who's here, whether they're citizens or not? Might that not be an important piece of information?
Our job is to do a complete enumeration, and we do that.
But that's the mandate you've got, right?
Correct.
Right. So I was listening to the chairman, and he seemed to be suggesting we only ought to count American citizens. If I read the Constitution correctly, and I know my friend, the ranking member, is a constitutional scholar, if you want to change that, you got to change the Constitution. You got to amend the Constitution. There have also been hints and innuendos, Mr. Santos, at some kind of conspiracy up there and whatever top management floor you occupy, a cabal that set about to deliberately skew the numbers, that we're going to overcount population in blue states and coincidentally undercount population in red states, thus favoring blue states for the Electoral College and the apportionment here in the United States Congress. I want to give you an opportunity to confirm or deny that you headed a cabal in the Census Bureau to ensure that there was a favorable disposition toward blue states and an unfavorable disposition with respect to enumeration and counting of persons in red states.
I wholly reject that claim.
You reject it.
Yes,
You didn't do that.
we did not do that.
Did you have subalterns who did it?
No.
Were you in doing the count? Do you train census enumerators to wink and blink and have a bias toward a particular political persuasion when they're doing the count?
Absolutely not.
And let me ask about other factors that might affect the count. Let's take money. In the 10 years prior to the 2020 census, were there budget cuts to the Census Bureau's budget?
My recollection is that there were.
There were. Could those budget counts conceivably have an impact on your ability to do the enumeration you're required to do by the Constitution? And could that, in fact, even affect the accuracy of that enumeration?
Yes, in fact, the budget cuts, they led to a cutback in the extent to which we could test the operation leading up to the 2020 census, and that in turn raised the risk that things could go wrong.
And in 2020, in March of 2020, was there some kind of nationwide, in fact global, health tragedy that cost 1.2 million American lives and might have affected the ability to recruit census enumerators, let alone knock on doors and try to get information for those who didn't go online in answering the census?
Yes.
What was that health crisis?
What was that? Come again? What was what?
It was COVID-19?
Yes.
And was that the first such pandemic in the United States and the world in over 100 years?
Correct.
So the combination of the budget and your ability to recruit and do your work based on the worst pandemic in 100 years might have conceivably affected both accuracy and your ability to do the count, though you in fact completed the census. Is that correct?
That's correct, and we are proud of the job we did.
Thank you so much. I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, did it take a constitutional amendment for the Census Bureau to be able to ask Americans whether you rent your home or own your home? Mr.
No.
Connolly said you can't